the Rangers Journal now.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Rangers Journal. Just about instant match reaction. Obviously off the back of a disappointing 3-0 defeat to Celtic. Joined this afternoon by Cammy. How you doing, mate?
Aye, it's same old story. Same old story. We've seen that movie so many times, far too often. I think, to be fair, I think 3-0 flattered us. I think they had a lot of opportunities where they were quite wasteful, and I thought we were powder puff. You know, it was all hopeful for Rangers in the latter stages. I couldn't see anything coming, you know. But I think we all feared that's what was going to happen before the game, and what we've just witnessed pretty much just backed up our concerns pre-match.
That's it, mate. I think going into it was almost more a case of hope as opposed to genuine belief, wasn't it?
It's one of these things that we we saw the starting 11, and I think that was the starting 11 personnel, probably the best 11 that was available. But you still have to do your job. It doesn't matter whether you pick the best 11 players. Players have to do their job. Players have to be set up in a tactical approach on the ball and off the ball that they all understand. You know, we're now on the 1st of September. Manager's been here nearly a year next month, and I still struggle to see what we're actually trying to do. It's all very well scoring 6 goals and looking brilliant against Ross County. Doesn't mean a thing. These are the games that you're judged as a Rangers player, and too often as a Rangers player and a Rangers manager, this is where you're judged. But yet again, but 3-0 flattered us. Celtic, if they had actually had their foot to the floor, could have scored 5, 6, 7. It's just same story. You know, if you do, what is it they say about insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, and that's just
expecting different results.
That's just what it feels like.
Yeah. So what was your thoughts when you saw that team? I mean, from my side, I'm not sure this is much a claim to fame. That was actually the team that I'd picked out. That's exactly how I thought we would line up, and I think to be fair, that's probably what most of the fans wanted to see as well.
Aye, that's it. But as somebody said to me before the game, the how you set up is all, the team that you play is all very well and good. The players have to execute a game plan or have a game plan that they understand. You know, you could bring in somebody else to the number 10 position or whatever it may be, but when players aren't running off the ball, when players aren't tracking back, you know, the manager's culpable with regard to, I think we struggle with regard to, I don't know what our tactical setup is at times. I thought we started off okay. It's all very well pressing, but they were still running in off the back of us, you know. But to go back to your original point, it's going to be very difficult, not because it's so raw and the game's just finished, trying to be coherent and actually just answer the question, Dave. But the starting 11 was the starting 11, the best available starting 11 to Philip Clement. But the way that we set up and the way that we executed it never happened at all.
That's it, mate. That's it. One of the things I spoke about in my preview blog was, we've heard an awful lot about this midfield battle. I think for us last season, actually the key issues were a lack of decisive quality up top, and I think I described it as some brain fart defending. Um, Unfortunately, I think it's fair to say we saw both of those. We did have a very good start in the pressing sense. We actually carved out a couple of half chances. So there was the Matondo header and the Dessers. I think it was just about a shot. Obviously, I think Dessers was definitely offside. I know there was a question about Matondo. How much do you think that kind of early creating chances and not taking them. Do you think that impacted kind of the
I think
rest of
I
the
think
game
it
as
always does. I mean, I think you need to score. We need to score first in these games, and I couldn't tell you the last time we did score first against them, because psychologically I'm not going to swear here.
well?
We we can't handle going behind. You know, it's
Yeah.
if we score one of the two chances, admittedly both offside, you might actually get a bounce from that. Celtic might they might get a bit negative. The crowd might get onto them. Compare the reaction to their goal getting chopped off. They just dust themselves down and get on with it. You know, it's the difference up here is all too apparent. And it goes back to, I go back 30 years, and it's very, they know that they are the better side. They know that they're by far the better side, and they know that if they just flick a switch, they're far more creative, far more incisive. They've got much more pace. You know, so we started okay. You know, it's no laughing about it, but it was positive. It wasn't we didn't have a brain fart within the first 30 seconds like we've done all too often. You've sort of got yourself into the game, and then their first real attack, they score, and then you get out of jail because he's obviously just offside. But it's they're clinical when they get opportunities, and we're not, basically.
That's it, mate. That's it. Gary, unfortunately, we've both on strict instructions by Scotty. We're not allowed
It's
to
not, to be
swear.
honest. It's not me. I'm not gonna do it. It's very easy to. It'd be very easy to. But we'll be professional about this, and we'll be open and honest, and just as I say, it's very raw. It's only 20 minutes after the game finished, but we just put our heads above the parapet and just get on with it.
Aye, aye, mate. One of the things that we highlighted on the preview show was that defending of the right-hand side. Obviously, there's kind of all the chat about Maeda having Tav on toast. We thought we'd done potentially a bit of practice for that scenario in the previous game. And we saw that interchange between kind of Sterling and Tavernier in and out of possession. I didn't notice that as much today, if at all. And it seems a bit confusing. You would do that against Ross County, but then chuck it in the bin when it comes to probably the biggest game of the season.
I think it's probably easy. I mean, I think it's probably easy against a different level of opposition. To be perfectly honest with you, I think you can get away with that in a game where you're 70-75% possession. You can sort of flick in and out of situations. You know, I mean, I said before the game. I mean, it's very easy to go scattergun, but I don't think anybody really got pass marks today anywhere.
No.
And I think that's the. I'm not going to go in on certain players because individually and collectively we were miles off it, and that's the reality. I thought on both flanks, I thought done the Matondo and Jeffrey didn't handle it down the Celtic right. They got in so many times in behind, and we know what happens on the other side. But I don't think Cherny was at the races at all. The ball didn't stick to him, and that's half the battle in these games. You need to keep possession. The ball was going up to Dessers. It was bouncing off him. The ball was going up to Matondo. It was. I can't recall, apart from the first 5-6 minutes, us stringing any passes, any more than 3 or 4 passes together for the remaining 85 minutes of the 90, to be honest with you. And if you can't be brave, the manager said before the game, we need to be brave. That wasn't a brave Rangers performance for me. Bravery is taking the ball in difficult positions. Bravery is trying to pass the ball forward. You know, and it wasn't just Connor Barron. It was they were all guilty of it. Again, James Tavernier, huge deficiencies defensively, but he was the only one, and I'm not giving him pass marks in any way, shape, or form. But yet again, he's the only one that tries to drive forward. This is our right. This is our right back. This is a systematic problem with the way Rangers play and Rangers set up. We are relying on our right back to be our main creator. We're playing with two wingers. Pass the ball to Cherny and do something with it. Pass the ball to Matondo, do something with it. Pass the ball to Matondo, do something with it. It shouldn't be all pinned on the right back to be the main creative force. And this is how many managers?
Right.
How many managers? We are still in the same position. And it's still Tav.
I think it's really interesting. I mean, yeah, we can sit and talk about the defensive deficiencies today, and Tav was guilty of it, but equally so were the rest of the back line. But it's a really interesting point about how reliant we are on him, because I think it was in the sort of 70s, minute-wise, Tav actually has our first, I would say, genuine kind of chance. And I mean, it wasn't brilliant. It was quite close to Schmeichel, but it took over 70 minutes, and then that first chance actually falls to our right back, as you say, that we're depending far too much on.
Aye, listen, there was so much wrong with our performance today, and I must stress, I'm not giving Tav an out here, but that's the wider issue that Rangers have as a football team, is that we are relying on our right back. We do not have and I'll say it till I'm blue in the face, we should have signed, as a matter of priority, a number 6 experienced DM that was going to be a Callum McGregor type of player, that's going to take ownership of the ball, want the ball, all that sort of stuff. You could probably assign Rodri, to be fair, and the same issues would still be there. It isn't just about... This is where it's easy to criticise individuals. Individuals and the manager, again, have failed. And how many Old Firm games is that now?
Too
5?
many, mate.
Is that 5 Old Firm games under Clement? And same story, same situation.
5 under Clement, but let's be honest, the issues go way beyond that. I was hearing on Sky, apparently it's the first time they've won 5 games at Celtic Park in a row since the bloody 80s, which gives you an idea, perhaps, of the dominance that they are showing at the minute. All right, just moving on a bit from the fullbacks then. The wingers for me, and I think you've already touched on this, but I thought all 3 of them were actually really poor. I mean, Igmani came on quite late, but I thought Cherny, for all his qualities that we've called out previously, pretty much anonymous today. Matondo, I mean, as good as he was against Ross County, this is the reverse with Matondo. You get performances like that. And I think for me, McCausland just could not get into that game when he did eventually come on. What were your thoughts on the wings, mate?
See, to be honest with you, Cherny's the one that is came with a bit of a reasonable reputation. So you're expecting, you're expecting more from him. To be honest with you, Matondo is Matondo. It's just hot and cold. That is what you get from him. But being a winger isn't just about going forward. It's going back the way as well, helping your fullbacks, helping your teammates. You compare and contrast. There was Maeda for them. As much as you can say he's limited, he's got pace and all that sort of stuff. He never stops. He's up and down and up and down, and he's effective for them. I just thought we were laboured. I think the 2 wide players, I don't think help the fullbacks at all. We spoke about it before the game that you really need to try and double up, but all they were doing was playing the ball in behind. So it's and McCausland for me, he shows promise at times, but the game today, like pretty much everybody else, just passed him by. It was, I think somebody said there about Jeffrey on a yellow card. That did give me the fear early doors, I must confess. I had my I had my worries about him going into the game temperament-wise, but he's picked up a really ridiculously soft yellow card. But to his small credit, he's managed to dive into somebody and get make the referee give him an easy edge, But it's the two fullbacks weren't great, but the boys in front of them didn't help, and I don't recall Czerny doing anything constructive at all. I just think for a guy of his international pedigree, he'll not be the first player to make his Old Firm debut in the game pass him by, but it didn't stick. The ball has to stick when you're no dominating possession.
Yeah. And just on the changes then, Cammy, what did you make of that? Because I mean, obviously we bought McCausland on just before half time. That one was enforced. I think it was around about the 60th minute we swapped out Dio for Lawrence, and to be fair, I'm not sure anyone would argue that. We might all have wanted Dio playing in that role, but he had a bit of a howler, if we're being truthful. But then we waited until just about the 80th minute to bring on another 3 subs. What do you think of that?
See, to be honest, I'd have probably brought Raskin on before I brought Lawrence, and that's just I just thought the middle of the park we just had to try to get it a bit more solid than we did. But bringing boys on with 10 minutes to go, Igaman, we've made this big thing about what's this kid going to do with 10 minutes in an Old Firm game?
Yeah,
He's not. I don't think he's played a training ground game, and we're giving him 10 minutes at the end of he's not coming on with a Superman t-shirt. I think making 3 substitutions with 10 minutes to go is pretty. It's like last throw of the dice. You can't really win, but we are. It's in recent years, Dave. We've been well beaten by them 3s, 4s, 5s. That's as bad today in and out of possession as we have ever been against them prior to Gerrard. That's going back to getting cuffed 5-0 for them to win the league under Murty levels of performance. It's but I think there's so much here as well. I think there's so much we speak in the past about scar tissue, and Tav's the main one with scar tissue. I think the majority of them, it's all new to them, but there's no leadership there. That's not just the captain. There's no leadership. There's no leadership throughout the side at all.
I mean, obviously, you expect the leadership from Tav as the captain. I think one of the other kind of obvious sources for that leadership would be Jack Butland. Now, I just want to touch on Butland because, I mean, the guy's had a lot of plaudits. Fairly decent shot stopper. I would argue today that he should have done better for at least 2 of those goals.
I mean, the first goals are shambles. We don't 99 times out of 100 we don't lose goals where it's a singular mistake. There's always 3 or 4 mistakes, but the keeper has to do better for me. The second one is a shocker. I think he's positioning. You see it.
Yeah.
He's positioning. He's too far over to the right hand side, and he can't adjust his feet to get. Back over. It's a nice finish, but listen, a keeper of his quality has to do far better than that. Jack Butland ended last season very poorly. When our form fell off a cliff March, April time, Jack Butland wasn't great across that period. Excuse me, made a mistake that cost us in the cup final. Didn't have a great pre-season, and he's not really he's had the odd save in 1 or 2 games, but you need your goalie to be. How many times going back over the years, Dave? Andy Gorham.
I was about to say,
Griggsy. Proper Rangers legends of goalkeepers, that we need our goalkeeper to be 100% on the top of his game. Jack Butland, as it stands, is he looks like he could be one of the leaders within the group. But if his form isn't at its best, then that doesn't inspire any confidence for the guys playing in front of him. You know, and it's he could do he could do far better. For certainly the first goal, he could do better. Second goal, 100% is his fault.
I would hard to disagree with that. That second one for me especially was a howler. I think there's a clip, and it's obviously easy to make a still show what you want, but it's basically behind Kyogo looking towards our goal, and you see, I mean, fair enough, you know, Kyogo was given way more space than he should have been. Nobody was closing him down, but he just meanders in towards the middle, hits one, and you would expect a top level keeper to be saving that, as you said. Just lastly, then, Scott, Cyril Dessers rightly had plaudits this season, off to a great start. I think worryingly, and you know, yes, there's the kind of caveat that the whole team was probably quite pish, so I'm not singling him out, but that almost looked like the frustrating Cyril Dessers of last season for me. How do you think he's helped or hurt his case here?
I just think he's very much like you don't know what you're getting. I've said this on pods before. You don't know. He looks to me a guy that he doesn't play freely in these sort of games. He's almost like snatching at it. He gets an opportunity. He gets an opportunity just after half time. Stick that in, and it's too. Listen, we're not in the game. We're miles off it. We're lucky it's only 2-0, but you stick that in the back of the net, and then games can turn on the back of that. Unlikely, but compare and contrast Kyogo with Dessers. Clinical. You always think he's going to stick the ball in the back of the net when he gets an opportunity. He missed one or two chances, but Dessers, the ball was getting played up to him. And I think it's times like this that I pine for Alfredo Morelos at his peak sort of thing. You know, the ball getting played up, holding it in, playing the ball out to the wing, or, you know, you need. I spoke earlier on about the wide players being able to hold the ball. The centre forward has to be able to hold the ball. And then when you get an opportunity, you have to have. I watched an analysis earlier on of Erling Haaland, and listen, not even in the same postcode as Erling Haaland, but it's like he's just so clinical and calculated, and you believe that he's going to score every time. When Dessers gets an opportunity, do you seriously have the belief that he's going to finish it? Because you just don't know. He finished his chances last weekend with aplomb again against Ross County. But it's these games, these are the games that make Rangers centre forwards. These are the games that make Rangers heroes. And yet again, he's came up. He along with the rest of them has came up short today.
That's it, and I think it's important to remember, you know, it's grand scoring against these other teams, and obviously you can't say it doesn't matter because you know the vast majority of games over a season. The simple fact is we actually won or took more points from the games against the rest last season, and we lost it in the head-to-heads. And obviously we're off to a similar start again. So I guess just an overall summary to wrap it up, mate. I mean, I think for me, I saw something on Heart and Hand on the old Twitter, and that probably summed it up quite nicely. You know, there's maybe haven't got the quality that we need. That's on the board. Haven't got the structure. That's on the manager, and we didn't have the heart today, and that for me is on the players. Anything you want to add to that?
I can't really disagree. You look at the money that we have spent some money.
Mhm.
You know, we haven't spent a lot of money, but Diomande, £4.5 million. Not at the races. He's a nice footballer and all that sort of stuff. But these are the games you just have to be brave and you have to want the ball. And I thought he done well to last an hour. To be honest with you, I think he could have been hooked at
half time.
He could have been hooked at half time. But you're spending $4.5 million on this guy.
Right.
We've committed to $4.5 million for Oscar Cortez next summer. When funds are limited, we have to spend the money wisely on game changer things.
There you go. He's paying attention, William.
Is that better? Is that better? My
More
OCD.
structured than the Rangers team today, mate. Jesus.
To be honest with you, I've totally lost my train of thought. What I was talking about there, Diomande. See, when the money's limited, I always go back to Walter Smith when he was hamstrung by the board and he had never had a penny. He spent £4 million on Nikica Jelavic. He had a far better Rangers team than this Rangers team behind him, but he spent the money on a guy that was going to make a hell of a difference at that end of the park. If we're spending £10 million circa on Cortez and Diomande, and as William's saying there, Bajrami is coming in. I need to do pronunciation school during the international break, to be honest with you. But if we're spending, that's going to be 12, 13 million pound on Cortez, Diomande, and the Albanian guy. They have to be massive parts of our side. But
It's
we
that
need to have the
maker, isn't it?
But I think the tactical structure and organisation that is you reference within that post, you could stick Kevin De Bruyne and Rodri and Haaland into that.
No.
It doesn't necessarily mean that everything would be better. You know, you have to be better on and off the ball. Celtic are night and day. They are a country mile ahead of us. And by Christmas, if we're less than 10 points, if we're within 10 points of them at Christmas, by the time we play them on the 2nd of January, I'll be surprised. I hate to be negative, but we are nearly a year into this now. And I don't see when the manager, this is one thing that's really ripped my knitting over the last wee while. A lot of the stuff that he says will be better in October or November. You don't come out and say these things publicly. Players hear that as well. Supporters hear that as well. Keep that in-house. There's no need to talk about that, about we're going to be better in October or November. I want Rangers to be better now. We should be far better and putting in a far more organised and cohesive performance than that today.
I think one of the things that will interest me, if I'm being honest, mate, is each time last season, you know, when they did win, obviously there was the draw, but the other games that they won, there was only a goal difference and, you know, some chalked off goals, easy to talk about, kind of maybe a decision costing you, maybe a bit of luck going the other way. I don't think he's got that defence today for me. I think that was a comprehensive beating. You know, I'll be very interested to see what he comes and says off the back of that.
3-0 didn't. I said right at the start, Dave. 3-0 didn't flatter at all.
No.
You know, we could not have been. 5-6. They've been wasteful. They've missed one or two chances 1-on-1. What was the scores last season? 3-3.
One goal
so obviously
lost
3-3. The last 3 games, 3-3, 2-1 in the cup final. The cup final was a pretty poor game of football, decided by a mistake, but we stifled it. We were quite dogged and all that sort of stuff. But I don't think we showed enough in effort and endeavour, effort in tackling, and I can't remember a tackle that actually laid a glove on them.
Yeah.
You know, listen, I could sit here for the next 3 hours and take questions. I could rant to my heart's content, but there's so much wrong with us as a football club. The problem is we can't just keep rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Manager, manager, manager.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I do have serious concerns about him, and this is nothing. This is not a snap comment. I've had my doubts over Clement and the way that we have played for a while, and today just reinforced that. It's it's I do question what we actually done in pre-season and what we actually do on the training ground with a full week to prepare. I think you should at least be. I was talking to Derek earlier on. 4-4, almost 4-4-1-1. Set your stall out, make yourself solid. Plug all the gaps. Gaps. They're running off the back here as the ball's getting run in behind. That's not down to player quality. Aye, the player has to be able to track and all that sort of stuff. But if you're not set up right, it's just hugely frustrating. And I'm not sure. I'm not sure what comes next. We just have to dust ourselves down, international break, and I think we go to Tannadice, which will only be they'll need to show a bit of balls to go up there. They'll smell blood, and we just have to. We don't play Celtic now until the 2nd of January. We just have to focus on the rest, like you said, Dave, and try to win every game between now and then, as unlikely as that seems.
That's it. I think just what you're talking about, the structure there, that Kyogo second was probably a prime example of that. You should add a right back, right central defender, and the right defensive mid, all in that kind of area, engaging potentially the right wing as well. And yeah, the boy had the freedom of the park basically. Look, don't want to dwell on this too much. As you say, we could probably sit here for hours and complain. Truth is, the guys will be here on Monday with a full breakdown of that game. We'll look at the tactics, the structure, the individual goals. Make sure you join us then. But for now, just remember, every night's a Rangers Journal night. Take care, folks.